right. It was asked, how did I solve this puzzle so fast? For a Sunday, it was pretty quick. So let me show the logic I used. I usually look for X's, obvious X's, and after a lot of staring for several minutes, I didn't find a single one. So I started focusing on this center square. It looked interesting. These four shapes kind of make up a square minus the corners. And when you think about that, you know that that area will have 8 stars from those four shapes. It's a 6 by 6 square area, so each chunk of 6 rows or 6 columns in the middle will have 12 stars, 8 of which come from this shared center area. So in looking at the columns, I determined we've got 8 from the center chunk, and then if I draw a shape around this area here, the bottom 2 rows in the center 6 columns plus these 2 squares, and then I mirror that up here, I know that those 2 areas will have a total of 4 more stars. Okay, so can they be all 4 on the bottom and none on the top, or vice versa, or 3 and 1? That was my next thought, because these two shapes down here are almost completely inside of that bottom region that we outlined. And so can I know anything more there? I determined we needed 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom. Why is that? Because on the bottom 2 rows, at most I can get 1 square here, well, a 1 star within this 2 by 2 square here, and same here. Same goes on the top. So if I said I wanted 3 stars in this bottom section, so say like 1 up here and then 2 more down here, there would only be 1 in this region up here, but um, I couldn't fit 3 more stars in these 2 corners. So there's a balance there. There's 2 stars up in this region, 2 down here in this region, and 8 in the middle. Okay, so then I look at these two shapes. Could they both be in one shape and 0 in the other, or whatever? No, because each shape only has one box outside of that region. So I was able to, maybe that's a lot of logical steps, but I was able to determine this has to be a star, and so does this. Okay, so again, only 1 star in this bottom region will come from each of these two shapes. Therefore, 1 star will come outside, and there's only one box for each of those. If that makes sense, the rest of the puzzle actually flowed very easily from there, and I'll try to walk through it quickly. We X out around those 2 stars. The rest of this row gets X'd out. This row here has 2 out of these 4. We know we can cross out the 4 above and below any region of 4 where there will be 2 stars. The rest of this shape, it's going to be one of these 2. The rest of this shape, it's either here or here. What I see next, now that we've crossed off these 4, this shape has gotten shrunken into like a 2 by 3, which we know these 2 have to be X'd out. This one has to be a star. One of these 2 will be a star, so we can cross this guy off. We know we can do that. Now we look over at this region here. Is that where I went next? Well, let's see. Cross off the rest of these guys. And I can get rid of this because it would block off too many squares here. What else can I do? You probably see it better than I do now. Okay, you might have a star here, but you certainly will have at least 1, if not 2 stars here, so I can cross this guy off. This can't be a star because it would block all 4 of these off, and you'd be left with 2 stars in this region here, so that crosses that guy off. Now I can do something similar here. I can cross this guy off because if these 4 were not stars, you're left with 2 boxes there. So it's getting a little simpler. This has to be a star, and one of these three has to be a star, so I can get rid of that. Call that a star. Okay, so we got one of these three. We've got now this shape's a little easier. One of these three will have to be a star because you'd only be left with two more boxes, so you can't have that. So now we're down to, let's see, one of these three, one of these two, two of these five, two of these five. Okay, so one of these three and one of these two. So I can, if one of these two has to be a star, then I can cross off the two on either side of it. And similarly, now we're down to two here. So if one of these two has to be a star, we can cross off above it. Okay. So we're down to, I should have seen it earlier, this has to be a star. It's the last square in this shape, so this will not be. So one of these two will finish this row. And that means this won't be a star. So one of these two, one of these two, one of these two, so I can cross that guy off. Coming back up here. We know one of these four has to be a star because there's only one other box outside of it. And we know one of these two has to be a star. So these can't be. Okay. What am I missing? We're still working. Oh, this column is done, right? So that guy's gone. So now this guy's got to be a star. This can't be. This column's done. Got one of these three, so we can cross this guy off. In fact, this shape is left with just two areas, so this one has to be a star, and one of these two have to be a star. So we'll clear off around there. And you've got two areas in this shape. This has to be a star, and one of these two have to be a star, so this won't be. This row is done. Now this one's got to be a star, and this row is done. And you've got one of these two plus this guy. Let's see what we got here. Done, done, done. One of these three, at least one of these three. This shape's gotten easier, so now an L, we know this won't be, this will be, one of these two will be. If only one of these two will be, then this has to be. So we're kind of cleaning up here. This row will be finished by one of these stars. This is our last guy here. Got this guy or this guy. One of these two. Oh, this row's actually done, so this is your star. One here, one here. So this will be a star. One here, this won't be. This has to be. One here, one here. Okay, you've got two areas left in the shape, so this will be one of these two. So this row's done, the column is done, so this is your other star, not here. And we're basically done here. What am I missing? How do I know which one? This one's got one left, this one's got one left. Oh, I never crossed this guy off. There you go.